Now, one of the things you want your function to be able to do is when you give it information, you basically want it to give you a value, or you want it to give you some values. That's what you want. And the way you give your functions the ability to give you back a value, because you have given your functions something, then this particular something goes and does whatever it's supposed to do with these things. The way you do that is by using a keyword which is known as return. So the thing you can do is you can return a value, or you can return values. Okay, you can return a value, or you can return more than one value. So in the first case here, let us look at a case where we are returning a simple value, a single value. Okay, returning a single value or a simple value, in that case like this. So in this case, we are just talking about a value. Okay, so we start with, we define, we tell Python we want to create a function, then the name of the function, that is square, and for this square is going to require some number, which is what you put there. Then here, of course, this is the what you call the doc screen. It is the description of what your function is supposed to do, and in this case, what it's supposed to do is supposed to work out the power of this thing here. So number, we put raised with the power, then of course that, then now instead of printing, because what you have been doing is you've been printing stuff, okay, you use these. So you say return, you want the function to give you back the square of this number instead of printing it. So there's a value which is stored in this SQ here. Okay, so what you want is the function to give you back what this value is. So in that case, you say return, then what do you want to return? What do you want the function to give you back? Return SQ. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So now we have removed the print, and what you have is just the value which is going to be returned. So when you run this, then of course you get help. Then it is, now it's no longer, we have said, since we're no longer printing, because previously we're saying print the square of a number, now it says return the square of a number. So in this case, when you give your function square a value of 3, what does it do? It gives you a value of 9. There, it gives you back 9. So you give it 3, it gives you back 9, which is basically the normal thing which you expect something to think, in which things you want to do. You give your function something, you want it to give you something. In our case here, our function is only giving us back one value, which is a simple value. Are we clear?
Sir, can you repeat it again?
In our case here, what we are getting is just a simple value, a 9. When you give square 3, it gives you back 9. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is how you return a simple value. This value 9, which has been returned to you, you can actually now you now have, with the return, you now have the ability to save 9 into a variable, then use it for other things of your choice. So in this case, we know this part, square 3 gives you 9, but we want to store this 9 in this SQU, this variable like that, this side. So instead of being displayed out here, it's going to be stored in that, then we'll print it out there. And this capability is because of the square which we have used. Are we clear?
Yes, it is.
Okay, of course. Here we have done a bit of a step where we store what comes out from here. We store it in a variable like that, but it's also possible for you to actually just retain the whole expression. where you can say define square number there, retains that. Instead of storing the power into something, you can just retain the whole thing. Whatever value is going to come out, you want to retain it like this. It works, but we don't encourage it because we want you to do things logically like that. Okay, you square that, that's what you get. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, remember our subtract function? Our subtract function was printing out the difference. Remember? Up here?
Yes, yes, I remember.
Yeah. So if you don't want to print the difference because you want to use the difference somewhere, instead of printing out the difference, you can actually return it. You can just give back the person and say, hey, here is the difference. Then they can print it whenever they want or whatever they're going to use it for, like that. So instead of doing a print difference here, we can say return difference there. And if you run it, then you do this. Now you get your 13 here. Okay, also, so this allows you, this gives you the ability with the retain, it gives you the ability to save this 13 in some other variable as we're about to do here. So here, first number, I'll say first number. So first number, start, then second, seven. So now instead of displaying the 13 like this, we want to store this 13 in a variable called difference. Then we want to print out the difference like that. So in this case, we have been returning very, very simple items like a number, okay? But it's also possible for you to retain more than a number, and I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll create a version of this of square, because square just squares to the number 2, right? Have you seen that?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it just squares to the number 2. But what if we don't want to square? What if we want to do a cube? What if we want to do to the power 4? What if we want to do to the like that? So we can make a modification of this same square. So returning not a simple value. Returning a tuple. Yeah. Returning a tuple as a value. So in that case, we're just going to say powers instead of square. Here, it's similar to what is already there, but create. We just want to show create function, raise the power, raise the power. Raise the power. So in this case, we'll say raise the power. So first number, we'll say first number, then second number, so here retains the power of face number, raised to second number, and vice versa. Basically, this is what we want to do. So we want to get the first number, we raise it to the power of the second number, then we want to get the second number and raise it to the power of the first number. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. Then at the end of the day, we want to give the person this. Yeah. So here we're going to say first power. Say first power. The first power is obtained by, we say power, you raise the first number. So first number to second number. Like that. You get the first power, right? Then the second power. How do you get the second power? We want to raise the second number to the first power. So here I'll say calculate first power, first and second power. Calculate first and second powers. So as you can see here, our function raised to power takes two values, the first number and second number. So what does it do? It retains the power of the first number raised to the second power and vice versa. So how do we retain these? How do we retain multiple values? How do we retain multiple values? Retain first power, and second power as tuple. So we do this by retaining them as a tuple. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to say retain a tuple of first power and second power. This is what you do in this case. If you want to retain, if your function gets these values that's got, then it does some magic with these values, then you want to do something about these values. You like in this case, you've worked out what the first power is, you work out what the second power is, then you want to give me back what the first power and what the second powers are. Then you have to retain those values as a tuple. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can retain those values as a tuple. So retaining a value, retaining values as a tuple, retaining multiple values as a tuple. So you can do this here. So now let us see what the so here okay, so now we can say core raised to power with arguments, let's say 3 and 4. Like this. So now we're going to give raised to power the values 3 and 4. So raised to power 3 and 4. You can do it like that. When you do that, this is what you get. What happened? First one is H1. This doesn't make sense. Second power. 2 and 3. The other number is too big. Also something doesn't make sense here. first number dot okay. First row symbol. Why does that? This other one doesn't make sense. I don't know why. Oh, okay. Here, I found the problem. There. It was supposed to be first number. I wrote first, the other part. I wrote, yeah. So there's a problem. There. So here, we say 3 and 4. So this is what we get. So 3 raised to the power 4 gives you the first power, which is 3, which is first number, raised to the power 4, which is second number, you get your H1. Then here, the second power is the second number, which is 4, raised to the power 3, gives you the second power, which is 64, and this is what you get. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. So that means the argument is very much important when we are coming to the raised to power.
Yes, of course. In this case, you can do it like this, or you can use positional arguments. But if you're using positional arguments like this, it still means the same thing. The first argument is going to be stored in the first parameter, like this. If you do it like this, let's say 5 and 3, like this. So the 5 is going to be stored in first number, yes. Then the 3 is going to be stored in second number, like this. Okay. Is that clear? So when you do that, that's what you get. Now, with what you have done here, remember what you have been doing with square? We have been squaring with 2, remember?
Yes.
So you can actually remake this function so that if someone does not give you a value, the second number, you can just use 2. Is that clear? You can do this. Yeah. If someone doesn't give you a value to use, here you can set, okay, you can say 2, like that. So in that case, this thing is going to work whether someone gives you a second value or they don't give you a second value. So for example, this one here. So in this case, I just give one value, 5, raised to power 5. When I do raised to power 5, it gives me 25 and it gives me 32. How is it doing that? It's because I gave it a value 2 in the definition of the function. Okay? This is what, if you remember last week, this is what we called a default value. Are we clear? Yeah, this is what we call a default value. Yeah, that's what you call a default value. Okay. We move on to that. So you can actually give back a tuple, or if you decide to put something there like that. So it's going to work whether you've got one value or you've given the function one value, you've given the function 2 values. It's because you have set this second number to a default value of 2. Okay. There's another thing called what is called an optional argument. Now, this optional argument is where you don't give a parameter something. You just leave the parameter. You create a parameter, but you give it a blank value. Are we clear? You have a parameter, but that parameter takes a blank value. For example, remember the function person we created? Do you remember person?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in this function person, okay, it's fine. Here we define, say we tell Python we want to create a function called person. Okay, so that's the name of the function. What is this function going to accept? It's going to accept the first name of the person. It also needs the last name of the person to work. Okay. Then, of course, there is a default value, which is we have set country to Zambia. But then, there is a then here. If a person has got a middle name, some people have got middle names, some don't have middle names. Okay? So if a person has got a middle name or they don't have a middle name, we don't know. But if they've got a middle name, we might also want to include their middle name. Are we clear? The problem is we don't have a name to use. We know that if a person has a middle name, we want to include their middle name in their full name. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if they have a middle name, we want to use their middle name. If they don't have a middle name, that's fine. Okay. Now, you notice that this one, after your first name and last name, then always comes your default parameter value, your parameter with its default value. After the parameter with its default value, that's when you have this middle name equals to empty string. This middle name equals to empty string. This is what we call an optional argument. It can be given or it cannot be given, but it's fine. If it's given, we're going to use it. If it's not given, we'll not use it. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So if it's given, in this case, if someone has been given a middle name, it says here, if middle name, now this one, it just checks if middle name has been given. If someone has given you a middle name, so how are you going to do that? So we're going to make full name by adding the first name plus a space plus the middle name plus a space plus the last name. If that is, if they have given a middle name. If they have not given a middle name, then you're going to create your full name by just using first name plus last name. That's all you're going to do. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then of course we want to create this thing called introduction or introductions. It says my names are whatever your names are. I am from Zambia. So in this case, if you still remember what you learned about string formatting, so this is a placeholder for a string, and especially we are talking about the full name here, which has been capitalized, and of course this one here is a placeholder for another string, and we are talking about the country in this case. So this is what is called an optional argument. We give optional arguments after default values, and those optional arguments are only used if they have been provided. If they have not been provided, we don't use them, but they always come after this default value. If a default value has not been given, then the optional argument always has to be at the end. Is that clear?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so let's see how that works, how it's going to work. So we have this person here. So we look at the example again of Kenneth Kaunda. So here we can say first name. So first name Kenneth, last name Kaunda. So in this case, we've just given the first name and the last name. If you just given the first name and the last name, then you can see that our middle name is going to remain empty. Is that clear? Since our middle name is empty, what we are going to use is this second line here to create the names. So there, when you do that, this is what you get. My names are Kenneth Kaunda, I'm from Zambia. On the other hand, if we supply the the middle name, first name, then last name, then middle name, first name, last name, and middle name has been provided as David. In that case, when you do that, this is what we get. My names are Kenneth David Kaunda, I'm from Zambia. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I also think this topic needs to go a bit up, in my opinion, before it comes to returning. Yeah, it should come before returning values. Let's just move it up for the benefit of any questions? We're talking about okay, we're talking about simple ideas, but these simple ideas are very, very important when it comes to actually creating programs which are going to work. When are you people coming back to campus?
September.
In September?
Yes, we're supposed to come in June, but they changed.
Oh, okay. Alright, so put this here. Then, so it's very important that you understand these simple these ideas we're talking about. Okay, move this one up also. And okay, that's a minute. So we have seen how to return a simple value. You have seen how to return a tuple, how you give back a tuple as an answer, and you'll find that most of the functions you're going to use later on, the answer is given to you as a tuple. The reason why it's given, you give an answer as a tuple, is because you don't want that answer to be changed in the middle. Are we clear? Because a tuple cannot be changed. Okay, this one here. Remove this. Let's raise the power. Then just a minute. All right. This one. Okay, that's good. Now, a simple value like the 9 we returned, then also the tuple, those are not the only things you can return. You can also return a dictionary. Okay, you can also return a dictionary. It's possible for you to return a dictionary. So in this case, we are going to create a dictionary. We're going to build a dictionary from information which has been provided to us, and using that information, we will build a pet, a dictionary called pet. Then we'll see how do you return that dictionary, how to return that particular dictionary. All right. So if there is a function, if there is a okay, so here we have a function called Buildpate here. So what does this function require? It requires the pet type, which is the cat, whatever it is, the name of the pet, the color of the pet. So you can see the type of pet has not been provided, so you have to give us this. Then the name of the pet, you also have to give us this. But we have set something here, adding to what you have learned, the color of the pet. We have set a default value of white. So if you don't give us a pet color, then we're going to use white. Then we have also set something here as an option. You can give us the age of the pet as an option. Is that clear?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you can give us the age of the pet as an option. But before we do that, so let's say, okay, fine. You have given us the name of the pet, the type of pet, whether it's a cat, the name of the pet, the color. If you decide, just give us the name of this. Okay, we're using this information, using the name of the pet type, the pet name, and pet color. We are going to build a pet. Okay, and how are we going to build a pet? A dictionary. We'll start with the name of the pet or the type. Let's start with the type. Okay. What type of pet is it? So type, it's going to be the pet type. Then the name of the pet. Then after that, the color of the pet. So here we check if the age of the pet has been given. Okay. If the age of the pet has not been given, then fine. If the age of the pet has been given, then we're going to add it to this dictionary called pets, like that. Then how do you return an actual dictionary? You just say return, then the name of the dictionary. That's all. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Just say return the name of the dictionary. Actually, I think this part's okay. Fine. Let's just leave it there. But it's introducing something which I really don't like, which is this bit. Let me remove this bit. So that means I also have to remove this bit, because that bit, this thing I don't want to introduce a lot. Okay, there. So let's just stick to the pet type, pet name, and pet color. So we build this dictionary. Once you build a dictionary, now you want to return your dictionary, then you just say return the name of the dictionary. That's all. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so if you run that, good. Then you build a dictionary. Okay, fine. Now here, build pets. So pet type is dog. Pet name is bingo. Huh? Yeah. Like this. So with this, two keyword, not positional arguments. Let me use keyword arguments. Better keyword arguments. That. So the pet type is dog, pet name is bingo. Then I build this dictionary. So you see, I get back a dictionary here. So inside I build the dictionary called pet. Then I'm given that dictionary called pet here. You see that? But if you look at the our pet dictionary, the color is white. So it's using the white value, which has been set here. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the point is you can actually return a dictionary. And that's how do you return a dictionary? You just put in, just say return, then you create a dictionary inside your function, then you return the dictionary, that's all. Keywords. So here, I say pet type, dog, pet name, bingo, pet color, black. There. Okay, this one I've removed it because I don't want it there. And that. Black. Okay. This bit talks about something called when you're giving a function, when you're creating a function, then you want to give this function what are called arbitrary arguments. What do we mean arbitrary? We mean that you do not know how many arguments your function is going to need. In our function square, we knew square needed one value, right?
Yes.
Number. Then we created a function called raised to power. Raised to power needed first number and second number, right? So those are just two values. We also created a function called subtract. Subtract needed two values, first number and second number.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do not know how many values a function is going to need. For example, when you are creating a function which is going to add a bunch of numbers, you don't know how many numbers that particular function is going to be called with. It might be called with 2 numbers, it might be called with 1 number, it might be called with 3 numbers, the function might be used with 4 numbers, the function might be used with 5 numbers. You don't know. That's the point. So if you do not know the number of values your function is going to be called with, then you can use what is known as arbitrary arguments. These arbitrary arguments are done using an asterisk. So basically you just provide one argument. In front of that one argument you put an asterisk. Are we clear? So in this case, I can say asterisk numbers, not args, I can say numbers. So these are going to be numbers. Then print out numbers. Then of course add numbers. I can do this. So I don't know how many numbers I'm going to be given. It might be 1 number, might be 2 numbers, but I'm not sure. So how do I do that? How do I take care of that? By putting an asterisk in front of numbers. Is that clear? So this is going to create what is called a tuple. Okay. So what do I want to do? Yeah, there. So I run this. Okay. Then I ask for help. That. So if I give add 1 number, so what's going to do? This is what it's going to do. It prints out what it has done with the 1 number I've given it. You see? I gave it 1 number. What did it do? It created this. then it adds that number, it gives me a result. So in this case, what this is doing is the numbers you're going to give it, it's going to create a tuple out of those numbers. Are we clear? Yes, to create a tuple, they need to add the items in the tuple. If you give it two numbers, 10 and 5, it will create a tuple here. 10 and 5. They need to add the 10 and 5 to give you 15. If you give it more than two numbers, like in this case, it will create a tuple. It creates this tuple. Then, of course, that. Are we clear?
Yes.
So this is how you give your function the ability to accept any number of information while you do not know what amount of information is going to be given to that function. You put an asterisk. You give it one argument, like in its numbers, but you put an asterisk in front of it. Is that clear?
Okay.
Yeah. You could actually, what could I have done? Yeah, I think instead of adding, what could you have done? You can add them. Some. Yeah, you could have, since numbers is a tuple, we could have probably returned. Let me see if you can do that. We can return numbers if it's going to work in the sum of numbers. Let me see, but it's a bit complicated. I don't like it. Okay, doesn't complain. Okay, yeah, okay, this is a bit let me not print it. Let me just do this. Return numbers. Yeah. Let me say, yeah. But again, that doesn't do what I wanted to do. That's the thing. Return. Okay. Let me just do that. So this gives you that. This doesn't add anything, but that gives you that. So you have a tuple. Basically, I want to show that you've created a tuple. Or let me just create a different function. I'll call it build tuple. I think it's more appropriate instead of add. Let's call it build tuple. So how would you create a tuple? Build tuple. I think it's better. It demonstrates, I think, in a better way what I'm trying to talk about. So here, when you do this, asterisk numbers, then what you end up having is a tuple. There. It's tuple. Is it clear what's happening?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
Following.
All right. Build tuple. That one. Okay, that's build tuple. So you put one star. then you can have your thing as tuples being given out like that. There is also something called keyword arguments. Now with the keyword argument, what's going to happen is, again, for example, you want to build a dictionary, but this dictionary is probably in the form of a shopping list. You don't know how many things you're going to buy, and let's say you're going to buy cooking oil. How many bottles of cooking oil are you going to buy? You don't know. You're going to buy milk. How much milk? How many packs of milk you're going to buy? You don't know. You're going to buy soap. How many soaps you need? You don't know. You are going to buy maybe bottles of some drinks. How many? You don't know. How many fruticana are you going to buy? You don't know. How much beer you're going to buy or wine you're going to buy? You don't know. So here there's a different problem whereby you don't know how many items you're going to buy and how many of those items are going to buy. If you don't know whether you're going to buy salt, you're going to buy milk, you're going to buy how many of these things you don't know. So when you have a situation like this, what you actually do is you can enable the same way we have done with build what was this build with build tuple. Okay, you can give your function the ability to build a dictionary for you while not knowing how many dictionary items, keys you need, and what are the values of the keys. You want the values of the keys to be given to you at that particular point. And how do you do that? You do that by using two stars like that. So you put two stars like that. So in this case, let's say we've got a shopping list here, then these are the items. So these items will have to be given in the form of keyword arguments like this. So this thing is going to build a dictionary. So let me say build shopping lists. Okay, I think this is better. Build shopping list. So this is going to build a dictionary of keyword arguments. So let's see how this works. Build shopping list. So with build shopping list, okay, so here I want you to see how it works. So the first is we start with only one item. You want to buy salt, but you only want one packet of salt. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
When you do that, this is what you get. You get a dictionary with salt as the key and the one as the value. So this part here becomes the key to your dictionary, and this becomes the value. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to build shopping list, but now we want two items, milk, the salt and milk. So now your thing is going to have salt and milk. So you want one packet of salt and 3 packets of milk. When you do that, this is what you get. You get salt, 1 as a key, milk as the key. How much milk do you need? 3 packets, like that. Is that clear the way it's working?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then here also you want to increase a bit the number of items you want. So there is salt, you want 2, sugar you want 2, milk you want 3, soap you want 4, butter you want 2. When you do that, this is what you end up. You end up with this dictionary. Salt 2, sugar 2, that, this. And you do this only if you do not know how many items you need and how much salt, how much milk, how much soap, how many of these things do you need. That's the only time you do this, where you put something but with 2 stars in front like that. So this is going to build from the things you have entered. It's going to build a dictionary from there. And of course, as you have seen, you just return a dictionary by just saying return dictionary. Return dictionary. Is that clear?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Any question?
No.
Of course, you can. This dictionary, which you have, you can save it. View shopping list. This dictionary, you can save it. This is the dictionary. You can say it's groceries. Then you print out groceries, and that's what you get. Here, if your function can accept a list, for example, here we create a function called footballers. Then we're going to give it a list. Then we want to return that list. So basically, what I'm trying to show you here is that a function can also accept a list. Like in this case, gods. Then you can also return a list like that. So in this case, the list of footballers. In this case, I'm talking about Messi, Ronaldo, Cristiano, Van Persie, Dida, Kaka, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Rooney, Beckham. So this is the list, as you can see. It starts with a square and it ends with a square there. So these lists, which you're calling players, we can give it to this function called footballers, then players like that, and we can get it back. Then like that, then we can, so you can see it has been returned as a list here. Then we can save these lists into a variable called ballers. Then of course you can print that list, so you end up with that. If you don't want to do anything, if you create a function, if you come up with the name of a function, okay, if you come up with the name of a function, but at the moment you don't know what the function is going to do. Are we clear? You come up with the name of a function, but at the moment you're kind of not sure what the function is supposed to do. You can still keep the name of the function, but inside that function you need to type this. You need to type pass. If you do it like this, you start with define, then okay, the name of the function is taskmaster, then you don't do anything after that. You try to run this. This is going to give you a problem. Okay? But if you want to bypass this to have a function, the name of a function with a name, but it doesn't do anything, then inside you need to put pass like that. So define taskmaster, then inside you put pass, then this function is going to run, but this function doesn't do anything. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we come to the end here. This other bit called recursion, we're not going to do it. That's another thing for some other thing, but in this course I don't think we're going to do it. Any questions? So this is how you create your own.
That means we're not supposed to
Sorry?
look at it as well. Should end here.
If we're going to, yeah, I think we're going to, let's end here, because this other thing is, it introduces other things which I don't think we should talk about them right now. So there's a bunch of stuff being introduced which is not appropriate at this stage. Okay.
Alright, sir.
You have any questions?
No questions. I've understood everything.
All right. So tomorrow when we meet, we're going to see how to create lambda functions. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a very short thing, how to create lambda functions. At 15, we should be able to be done in 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes for tomorrow. So that's a part C of this thing. Yeah. Okay, so see you tomorrow.